Kohteena on Cyberpunk alusta. Kohteena on Cyberpunk 2077 pelimoottori. In question is subject Cyberpunk 2077 game engine. I think it is Unity based, either Unity or Unreal Engine or both. So I will be discussing for myself Unity errors and mainly Cyberpunk 2077 feedback, and I will be stating facts which I liked, and every aspect which I didn't like are basically for development purposes, as I like this game engine very much and it now doesn't have many errors. So it has few errors, so if I am harsh, so it's productive feedback for maintenance in later versions of the engine. And this is free speech, so I will be speaking freely without any particular structure as things come to mind. But first subject which I want to mention is that this version of Unity or Unreal Engine 4 or other versions, Cyberpunk 2027, works very fine. My current setup is Dragon X gaming motherboard with blue USB, red USB and black USB. They have USB-A and USB-C both. It's two red USB-Cs and other are USB-A type. So it's Dragon X motherboard with Intel i5-11400F processor. It's $250 Intel processor. And I also have NVIDIA RTX 3060 Ti Raytracing, which is expensive. It's $800 motherboard or graphics chip, and it's for only graphics performance, and it works very well. My computer uses both raw Intel performance and RTX ray tracing, this 3060 Ti chip, so it balances them out. So the thing is, there are a little bit of connectivity issues with these both systems, as the travel distance from the Intel processor in my computer, my Windows box, to the NVIDIA is quite long. So first I want to state the fact that at this point I have played Cyberpunk 2077 for approximately 200 hours. And at this stage, after some basic errors and development issues and bugs, it works really fine. So I can game on this setup for 500 hours or more, depending on my situation. So as of now, my Cyberpunk 2077 game engine works so fine that I can play additional 500 hours of this game in this current setup. And yeah, so basically it has no issues. So this is also for other versions of the game, which I know to be true, these so-called issues. First is the saving file issue. So my saving file issue works fine. How do I do it? Why does my saving file work fine? First of all, the saving file requires some 200 megabytes of storage, but I don't know the exact number but it can be gigabytes, I don't know, but approximately 10 to 200 megabytes of storage. So as my system is x64, Windows x64 or x86, I think there are both names mentioned, 64-bit, so my save file can count over 1000. So at 120 hours of my current save file, which is if I said correctly 120 hours, my save file number is at 1200. So if I recall correctly, some versions, for instance Windows 32-bit, which is not my system, cannot cope well with the very high numbers. So the problem can be with 1000 or 500 depending on the system. So you need to unlock some form of measurement that your save file count can go over 1000 or 10,000. So currently at 120 hours, my manual save count is at save 1200 approximately. So it can easily go to 10,000, which is like 1000 hours of gameplay, I think, or 500, very much. So some systems cannot go up to 64 byte systems. So it crashes at, for instance, 500 or 1000 or 5000 or 10,000 or something. So my theoretical maximum would be at 9999, which is 999, just below 10,000. But I think my system can also count above 10,000 because I have 1,600 euros Intel NVIDIA Windows 11 machine plus 27-inch screen and 32-inch television. This is Joosef Kaario, so called, from Finland. Thank you. So first thing which I did, as I recall the last 10 minutes, I updated the saving file number issue that my system can count from 32-bit numbers to 64-bit numbers. So currently I know that my system can count to 10,000 save files, as I am sitting at 1200 approximately, and then it should reset after that. This is Windows 64-bit x86 Windows 11. This Windows 11 is quite new, so I have worked with Apple Windows and I have Linux on my previous iMac model. Just a short note. My iMac model is from 2013, which is 8 years ago. So basically it doesn't have any updates, so I just coded Red Hat Ubuntu Linux kernel for my iMac 2013 model. So it works fine, as the hardware is quite good and it's 5400 RPM hard drive, so it's quite slow, but as I have manually optimized my Linux for my iMac setup, so it works quite snappily, and my iMac doesn't have the Mac OS slow issues, as I have manually downgraded and uploaded Linux kernel Red Hat Ubuntu for my iMac. The Red Hat Ubuntu is the difficult version of Ubuntu, so it has all the features. It's a little bit complicated, but I wanted all the features in my machine. So that is why I didn't go with Pop OS, but the full Red Hat Ubuntu Linux. I have it on my other desk. So basically the biggest issue would have been the save file issue. Other than that, there are a few graphics bugs, like the hair on the character doesn't show really well with if it's inside a car or a motorcycle especially. But for me this is mainly a minor bug at this stage and doesn't affect gameplay, but it was very irritating and could crash the game at earlier stages of the game. And the bug was that when riding a motorcycle or car, the game crashed. The game crashed as it couldn't display character hair or other aspects of the character on the motorbike or in the car. So the game would crash if you would ride a bike or a car. But this is now fixed in my current setup. And I will be playing Cyberpunk car driving, and I will listen to my own broadcast, and I will maybe re-record it if I put it on the internet, YouTube or otherwise. I cannot do it right now, so I am just recording it for myself, and I will eat soon. And basically it's as simple as that, but somehow the game engine feels a little bit like Linux, a little bit too light. So I think it's more drive or something, maybe some sound issues, though it may be also that this is a very good high resolution game, high-res game, as it works with my Intel NVIDIA 32-inch television as playing around. Though this is the third, I think, third and the main issue, which is so complex that it involves other platforms as well. So the issue is that the game doesn't really work snappy enough with my 32-inch Samsung old television, as the input lag is too big. So this Cyberpunk 2077 works very well with my Intel NVIDIA 27-inch, which has 175 Hz and 1 millisecond input lag, or 3 milliseconds as this is IPS panel. So the game has a little bit problems with the Samsung 32-inch television 6 millisecond input lag for some reason, and it shouldn't be an issue, but as this is Windows game with the CSGO machine, so as I have Intel, NVIDIA and Windows box through HDMI to Samsung, so with the television it adds a little bit too much input lag, which is usually not a problem, but it can be an issue. And right now I play with my 27-inch 175 Hz display. You heard right, this panel, IPS panel, goes 1 millisecond and 175 Hz, almost 200 Hz, which is 175 frames per second. So the gaming works very fine with this fast display, and with this lower television I use it for output monitoring or input monitoring, however you say it. So I record my gaming with NVIDIA chip, as this NVIDIA RTX 3060 Ti can record basically the game at full graphics. So the issue is that the game feels a little bit too light, so it's not optimized enough. So as I have an extremely powerful production machine, so it doesn't really effectively use all the power of my Intel NVIDIA. So if I would name this issue in one sentence, is that Cyberpunk 2077 is not optimized enough. It needs to be like Apple optimized, the same way as Apple hardware is optimized. And this is the long-term issue, and it needs a lot of work. It doesn't go away instantly. So I can play the game with full graphics at 35 FPS in any case, and record it with my NVIDIA at the same time. And the only issue is with I have some licensing problems with Shotcut, the video editing problem, so that is not part of this issue actually, but it feels a little light, so it should need more quality samples and better quality samples, as I suspect that some of the samples are like MP3, like WAV file. But this works quite fine with a high-res game though. So this game engine works fine, but what needs to be done from CD Projekt Red's part is that the game needs to be optimized. As the same way as Apple hardware is optimized, so it's too raw based. And this is not a gaming issue, but it's an issue for development, which I noticed here when I said my thoughts. So as I have this powerful computer, what am I going to do about it? I'm going to drive it and I will record 30 minutes, 10 minutes or 90-minute video sequences, as 90 minutes is the now maximum capacity for my NVIDIA for one clip. So if I record 3 hours, I record 2 clips and then just the barrier in between. So I will drive the system and I will optimize it for myself, and I will render all the areas drive with car, and then also I will watch the footage. I will watch like 50% of the footage with I play, with some clothing things and some aspects. I won't record everything, but I will usually record, for instance, 1 hour of my drive when I drive with a car or I walk or something. So I will render the game and I will drive it, but I will say good job CD Projekt Red, and I will continue driving the system and I will figure ways how it could be more optimized. Joosef, Kaario out. Thank you.